Most people think success begins with talent, connections, or luck. But in reality, it often begins with something much simpler: how you start your day. If you wake up rushing, already behind, reacting to the world instead of leading it, you carry that chaos into everything you do. But if you wake up early, with intention, you create space to think, to breathe, and to focus. Waking up early isn't about discipline for discipline's sake. It's about giving yourself the gift of time before the world makes demands of you. It's in those quiet hours that clarity, energy, and purpose are born. This isn't just about getting out of bed. It's about starting your day right so you can live your life right. Waking up early is not about discipline. It's about owning your time before the world owns it. Too often, people misunderstand the concept of rising early. They think it's only about building toughness, pushing yourself to extremes, or proving to others that you can do something hard. But waking up early is not about punishment, it's about freedom. It's about creating a window of time that belongs entirely to you, before the world begins to interrupt, distract, and demand. Every single one of us wakes up into a day that quickly becomes filled with emails, calls, obligations, and other people's priorities. If you wake up late, you start your morning already reacting, already behind, and you allow the outside world to dictate your pace. But if you wake up early, you claim back those hours and decide how your day begins. In the quiet of the morning, when the world is still asleep, there's an incredible stillness. No notifications, no interruptions, no noise. That silence is powerful because it gives you the chance to think clearly, to hear your own thoughts, and to set your own intentions. It is during those early hours that people find themselves able to read, journal, exercise, meditate, or simply sit with their plans for the day. And those simple practices compound into powerful habits. Instead of being thrown into chaos, you're stepping into clarity. It's not about waking up early for the sake of it. It's about what that time makes possible for you. Think of it like this: when you wake up late and hit the ground running, you're letting life pull you in every direction. But when you wake up early, you become proactive instead of reactive. You lead the day rather than follow it. That leadership is not about controlling others, but about controlling yourself, your focus, and your energy. Imagine having 1 or 2 hours where you can work on the things that matter most to you: your health, your learning, your goals, without interruption. That is the gift early mornings give you. It's not something you owe to anyone else. It's something you owe to yourself. It's also worth realizing that waking up early doesn't only affect the morning. It influences the entire day. The confidence you gain by starting early, the small victory of simply getting out of bed when you said you would, creates momentum. That momentum builds into a chain reaction: you eat better, you focus better, and you carry yourself differently. You feel ahead instead of behind. Even when challenges arise, you're grounded because you began the day from a place of control. And over time, this habit strengthens your self-respect. When you tell yourself you'll rise early and you actually do it, you're keeping a promise to yourself. That integrity builds inner trust, and inner trust builds confidence. Some people will say they're not morning people, and perhaps they aren't. But the truth is, the principle here is less about the hour on the clock and more about the idea of creating intentional time before the world takes it from you. For most, early morning is the most practical time because it's the one moment of the day that others are least likely to interrupt. That's why so many successful people, across different fields and backgrounds, swear by it. It's not because they enjoy waking up in the dark. It's because they value that uninterrupted time that allows them to start from a place of strength. Waking up early, then, is really about taking ownership. It's about saying, "This part of my day belongs to me. I will not let the noise of the world dictate how I begin." And when you live that way, your mornings stop being rushed and chaotic. They become intentional, empowering, and deeply personal. The choice to wake up early becomes the choice to put yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in a way that ensures you can show up better for everything and everyone else throughout the day. The first hour of your day sets the tone for every decision that follows. Think about it. How you spend those initial moments after waking up acts like a blueprint for the hours ahead. If you begin your day with chaos, grabbing your phone, scrolling through messages, rushing out of bed because you overslept, you set yourself on a path of reactivity. Every decision becomes rushed, reactive, and careless because your mind has been conditioned to respond to external noise instead of creating internal clarity. But when you choose to design that first hour with intention, the ripple effect shapes the entire flow of your day. It becomes the difference between a day you control and a day that controls you. In psychology and behavioral science, there's a well-studied concept called decision fatigue. It explains how, as the day goes on, the quality of our decisions deteriorates simply because our mental energy gets drained. That's why the morning matters so much. It's when your mind is at its freshest, before distractions, stressors, and competing demands weaken your ability to focus. The first hour is like fresh snow, untouched and pure, waiting for you to leave the first footprints. If you step into it with purpose, the path becomes clear. If you stumble into it with disorder, you'll spend the day trying to recover. Consider what happens when you wake up and immediately jump into emails or social media. Without even realizing it, you've allowed other people's priorities, opinions, and agendas to dictate your mental state. You didn't choose your focus. Someone else did. And once you're in that reactive loop, it's hard to get out. Contrast that with a morning spent intentionally. Maybe you hydrate, stretch, read something inspiring, or write down 3 important goals for the day. Those simple acts are small, but they anchor your mind, calm your emotions, and sharpen your focus. You've set the tone of being proactive, and that tone follows you. The beauty of the first hour lies in its flexibility. It doesn't demand perfection or a rigid routine. It simply asks for presence. Some people thrive by exercising in the morning, releasing endorphins that energize their body and mind. Others prefer meditation or journaling, which clears mental clutter and brings peace. For some, it's about learning, reading, listening to an audiobook, or reflecting on new ideas. The activity itself matters less than the intention behind it. What matters most is that you consciously decide how your day begins instead of leaving it to chance. Think about high-performing athletes, leaders, or creatives. They rarely leave the start of their day to randomness. They treat that first hour as sacred, knowing it's the foundation for everything else. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. When you show up for yourself in that first hour, you train your brain to make better choices throughout the day. You build discipline in micro moments, and those micro moments compound into powerful results. The truth is, most people underestimate the importance of beginnings. They look at outcomes, achievements, success, productivity, but they forget that outcomes are rooted in habits. And habits are often born in the way we start. If you begin the day sluggish, unorganized, and unfocused, your habits will mirror that energy. If you begin the day energized, centered, and purposeful, your habits will align with that. The first hour doesn't guarantee a perfect day, but it gives you the best possible chance to face challenges with clarity instead of chaos. So the first hour is more than just time on a clock. It's a statement of who you want to be. It's a daily opportunity to align your actions with your intentions. By treating that first hour with respect, you are, in essence, declaring to yourself and the world, I am in charge of how today unfolds. And when that declaration is made consistently, it reshapes not just your day, but your life. Success comes not from rushing, but from starting with purpose and control. In today's world, rushing has almost become a badge of honor. People pride themselves on being busy, on multitasking, on racing from one thing to another without pause. But the truth is, rushing does not create success. It often destroys it. When we rush, we make mistakes, overlook details, and operate from stress rather than clarity. Success, on the other hand, comes from slowing down just enough to act with intention. It comes from beginning the day with purpose, not panic, and taking control of how the hours unfold rather than letting them slip away. When you wake up and immediately dive into chaos, you are starting on the wrong foot. Your brain is not fully engaged, your energy is scattered, and your decisions are rushed. This sets off a chain reaction where you spend the rest of the day in catch-up mode, constantly reacting instead of creating. Starting with control means breaking that cycle. It means pausing to ground yourself, to choose your direction before stepping into the flow of the day. That pause does not take hours. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of stillness, breathing deeply, or writing down your top priorities. Those small moments of purpose shift your mindset from reactive to proactive, and that shift makes all the difference. Consider how professional athletes prepare before a game. They don't sprint onto the field and immediately play at full force. They warm up, focus, visualize, and center themselves. They know that performance requires preparation. The same principle applies to life. Success does not come from rushing into your day without thought. It comes from preparing yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally to face whatever challenges may come. Starting with purpose is your warm-up for life, and it ensures that when the game begins, you're ready to give your best. Another reason rushing is so dangerous is because it places you in a constant state of stress. The human brain is not designed to make its best decisions under pressure all the time. Stress narrows focus, clouds judgment, and keeps you in survival mode. Living this way drains creativity, patience, and long-term vision. By contrast, starting your day with control calms the nervous system, opens up mental clarity, and allows you to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You become less reactive and more intentional, and in that state, you're far more likely to succeed. Purpose is equally critical. Without it, even the most efficient days can feel empty. Purpose is the compass that guides your actions, reminding you why you do what you do. When you begin your morning by reconnecting with your purpose, whether that's through setting goals, reading something inspiring, or simply asking yourself what matters most today, you align your actions with meaning. That alignment fuels motivation and helps you persist when challenges arise. A day without purpose may keep you busy, but a day with purpose moves you closer to the life you truly want. It's important to realize that starting with purpose and control is not about perfection or rigid routines. It's about awareness and choice. Some mornings will be smooth, others may be messy, but what matters is that you consciously decide how to begin. Do you start with gratitude or complaint? With intention or distraction? With calm or chaos? Those choices may seem small, but they shape your energy, your mindset, and your ability to succeed. Over time, starting your day with purpose and control becomes a habit, and habits build character. Instead of being someone who reacts to life, you become someone who leads it. Instead of rushing blindly, you move deliberately. And as you stack intentional mornings, one after another, you create a foundation for lasting success. True achievement doesn't come from running faster. It comes from moving with clarity, calm, and conviction. That is why success will never belong to the one who rushes. It will always belong to the one who begins with purpose and control. Quiet mornings create space for clarity, reflection, and intentional action. In a world that constantly demands our attention, silence has become a rare luxury. The early hours of the morning, before the world wakes up, hold a kind of magic that cannot be replicated at any other time of the day. It is in that stillness where your mind has room to breathe, free from the chaos of constant notifications, obligations, and distractions. That quiet time is not just about peace, it is about possibility. When the noise fades away, you finally hear your own thoughts clearly, and in that clarity, you find direction. Most of us move through our days on autopilot, responding to external pressures without pausing to ask ourselves what we truly want or need. Mornings, when embraced with intention, can break that cycle. They give you the chance to reflect on your goals, your values, and your priorities before you're swept away by the demands of others. A few quiet minutes spent journaling or meditating can reveal patterns in your thinking, uncover hidden worries, or spark new ideas. It's a chance to reconnect with yourself, to align your actions with your bigger vision, and to decide what really matters for the day ahead. Clarity doesn't just happen by accident. It comes from making room for it. Imagine your mind as a glass of muddy water. If it's constantly shaken, the water stays cloudy and you can't see through it. But when you allow it to sit still, the mud settles and the water becomes clear. That's exactly what happens in the quiet of the morning. The stillness lets the mental noise settle, giving you the clarity to think deeply and make wiser choices. Without that pause, you're simply rushing from one thing to another, never stopping to notice whether your actions align with your purpose. Reflection is another gift of quiet mornings. It's easy to overlook the power of reflection in a culture that values speed and productivity above all else. Yet reflection is what helps you learn from the past and prepare for the future. A few minutes spent reviewing yesterday, what went well, what didn't, and what can be improved, creates a loop of continuous growth. Instead of repeating mistakes, you learn from them. Instead of drifting through your days, you live with greater awareness. Reflection is not about dwelling on the past, it's about using it as a guide to improve your present. Once clarity and reflection have taken root, intentional action becomes possible. When you start your day with thought and presence, every step that follows feels deliberate rather than accidental. You are no longer reacting mindlessly, you are acting with purpose. That could mean prioritizing the most meaningful work first, instead of being consumed by trivial tasks. It could mean making time for exercise or a healthy breakfast, instead of rushing out the door empty-handed. It could mean reaching out to someone important in your life, instead of letting another day slip by in silence. Whatever the action, the power lies in its intentionality. What's remarkable is how small morning rituals can shift the trajectory of an entire day. 10 minutes of silence can bring calm. Writing down 3 priorities can create focus. A short walk outside can spark energy. These actions may seem small, but they carry weight because they set the tone. And when practiced consistently, they don't just improve days, they reshape lives. Over time, clarity becomes a habit, reflection becomes a strength, and intentional action becomes second nature. Quiet mornings are not about being productive for the sake of productivity, they are about alignment. They ensure that the way you spend your time reflects the person you want to become. They remind you that success is not just about doing more, but about doing what matters most. In the stillness of the morning, you find the power to slow down, think deeply, and act with purpose, and that power transforms everything that follows. Success comes not from rushing, but from starting with purpose and control. In today's world, rushing has almost become a badge of honor. People pride themselves on being busy, on multitasking, on racing from one thing to another without pause. But the truth is, rushing does not create success, it often destroys it. When we rush, we make mistakes, overlook details, and operate from stress rather than clarity. Success, on the other hand, comes from slowing down just enough to act with intention. It comes from beginning the day with purpose, not panic, and taking control of how the hours unfold rather than letting them slip away. When you wake up and immediately dive into chaos, you are starting on the wrong foot. Your brain is not fully engaged, your energy is scattered, and your decisions are rushed. This sets off a chain reaction where you spend the rest of the day in catch-up mode, constantly reacting instead of creating. Starting with control means breaking that cycle. It means pausing to ground yourself, to choose your direction before stepping into the flow of the day. That pause does not take hours. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of stillness, breathing deeply, or writing down your top priorities. Those small moments of purpose shift your mindset from reactive to proactive, and that shift makes all the difference. Consider how professional athletes prepare before a game. They don't sprint onto the field and immediately play at full force. They warm up, focus, visualize, and center themselves. They know that performance requires preparation. The same principle applies to life. Success does not come from rushing into your day without thought. It comes from preparing yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally to face whatever challenges may come. Starting with purpose is your warm-up for life, and it ensures that when the game begins, you're ready to give your best. Another reason rushing is so dangerous is because it places you in a constant state of stress. The human brain is not designed to make its best decisions under pressure all the time. Stress narrows focus, clouds judgment, and keeps you in survival mode. Living this way drains creativity, patience, and long-term vision. By contrast, starting your day with control calms the nervous system, opens up mental clarity, and allows you to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You become less reactive and more intentional, and in that state, you're far more likely to succeed. Purpose is equally critical. Without it, even the most efficient days can feel empty. Purpose is the compass that guides your actions, reminding you why you do what you do. When you begin your morning by reconnecting with your purpose, whether that's through setting goals, reading something inspiring, or simply asking yourself what matters most today, you align your actions with meaning. That alignment fuels motivation and helps you persist when challenges arise. A day without purpose may keep you busy, but a day with purpose moves you closer to the life you truly want. It's important to realize that starting with purpose and control is not about perfection or rigid routines. It's about awareness and choice. Some mornings will be smooth, others may be messy, but what matters is that you consciously decide how to begin. Do you start with gratitude or complaint? With intention or distraction? With calm or chaos? Those choices may seem small, but they shape your energy, your mindset, and your ability to succeed. Over time, starting your day with purpose and control becomes a habit, and habits build character. Instead of being someone who reacts to life, you become someone who leads it. Instead of rushing blindly, you move deliberately. And as you stack intentional mornings one after another, you create a foundation for lasting success. True achievement doesn't come from running faster. It comes from moving with clarity, calm, and conviction. That is why success will never belong to the one who rushes. It will always belong to the one who begins with purpose and control. Early mornings give you momentum, small wins that shape big outcomes. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior, yet it often begins with something as simple as the way you start your day. Think about the feeling of making your bed, finishing a workout, or sitting quietly with your thoughts before the world demands your attention. These small wins may seem insignificant on the surface, but they create a sense of accomplishment that builds confidence and energy. When you begin the day by stacking small victories, you carry that momentum into every task that follows, and over time, those tasks compound into extraordinary results. Momentum works because it feeds on itself. The hardest part of any goal, whether it's writing a book, starting a business, or improving your health, is often getting started. Once you're in motion, staying in motion becomes easier. That's why early mornings matter so much. They remove resistance. When you wake up before distractions appear, you give yourself uninterrupted space to take that crucial first step. It could be writing one page, running 1 mile, or simply organizing your day. That single step is a small win, and it sets a positive chain reaction in motion. By the time the rest of the world wakes up, you're already moving forward. There's also a psychological shift that comes from starting strong. When you achieve something meaningful early in the day, you send a signal to your brain: I am capable, I am in control, I am progressing. That signal shapes your identity, and your identity drives your actions. Instead of dragging through the day, you approach tasks with energy and belief. Momentum transforms effort into flow. Suddenly, things that felt heavy feel lighter, and challenges that seemed overwhelming feel manageable. All because you built energy from the very start. Small wins are often underestimated because people tend to focus on big goals, but big goals are nothing more than a series of small wins stacked together. Consider an athlete training for a championship. The victory doesn't come from one monumental effort. It comes from showing up every day, putting in the reps, and building momentum through consistent action. Early mornings provide the perfect environment for those reps. By committing to small but meaningful actions in the morning, you are training yourself to stay disciplined, focused, and persistent in the long run. Momentum also creates resilience. Life is unpredictable, and no day will ever go exactly as planned. But when you begin with small wins, you create a buffer against the unexpected. Even if the rest of the day unravels, you've already achieved something important, and that anchors your mindset. Instead of feeling like a failure, you feel steady because you know you've moved forward in at least one meaningful way. That resilience helps you bounce back faster, adapt more easily, and keep moving instead of giving up. Another benefit of morning momentum is the compound effect. Just like interest grows on money invested, effort grows on energy invested. One productive morning leads to another, and soon you find yourself building habits that once seemed impossible. Waking up early to read a few pages eventually turns into finishing books. Writing a paragraph a day turns into completing a manuscript. Doing a short workout turns into long-term fitness. The compounding power of small wins, multiplied by consistency, creates outcomes far greater than you could ever achieve by relying on bursts of motivation alone. Momentum doesn't care how big the step is, it only cares that you take it. That's why early mornings are so powerful. They give you the chance to take that first step before the world interrupts. By claiming those hours for yourself and focusing on small victories, you build a force that carries you forward. Over time, that force shapes not only your days, but your entire life. What begins as a simple choice to wake up early becomes the foundation for achievements that once felt out of reach. Momentum is built one small win at a time, and early mornings are where those wins begin. How you start your day is often how you live your life. The way you wake up, the choices you make in those first few moments, and the mindset you carry into the morning are not isolated. They are reflections of your larger patterns. If you wake up each day with intention, clarity, and purpose, you are more likely to live a life that mirrors those same qualities. If you begin each day with chaos, distraction, and stress, that energy seeps into everything else you do. Your mornings are not just about the start of a single day, they are a metaphor for how you approach life itself. When you think about it, the first act of your day is often a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Choosing to rise on time instead of hitting snooze is not just about getting up earlier. It's a small demonstration of discipline. Choosing to drink water instead of immediately scrolling through social media is not just about health. It's a declaration that your priorities matter more than distractions. These choices may seem small, but they add up to habits, and habits shape your life. How you spend your mornings becomes how you spend your days, and how you spend your days eventually becomes how you spend your years. The morning also reveals how much respect you give yourself. If you constantly start the day in a rush, late, and unprepared, it reflects a lack of self-care and planning. You may say you want to live with balance and focus, but your mornings tell a different story. On the other hand, if you begin the day with calm, gratitude, and control, it shows that you value your time, your energy, and your future. Your morning routine is not just a set of actions, it's an identity statement. It silently answers the question, who am I choosing to be today? Consider how powerful mornings become when you treat them as a rehearsal for life. If you start each day with positivity, you train your brain to see opportunities rather than problems. If you begin with reflection, you develop the ability to learn from experience and grow. If you start with intentional action, you build momentum that carries into everything else. Each morning becomes a practice session for the qualities you want to embody in your larger journey: discipline, focus, gratitude, resilience. When you repeat those qualities every morning, they stop being practices and start becoming who you are. There's also a psychological principle at work: humans thrive on consistency. When you create a reliable way to start your mornings, you anchor yourself amidst the unpredictability of life. The rest of the day may bring challenges, surprises, and setbacks, but your morning routine grounds you. It provides stability, reminding you that while you can't control everything, you can always control how you begin. That sense of control builds confidence, and confidence builds a life that feels intentional rather than accidental. It's worth noting that mornings don't have to be perfect to be powerful. Some days you may feel tired, unfocused, or distracted, but even then, the act of choosing one small intentional action, stretching, breathing deeply, writing down a goal, can shift your energy. Those choices are symbolic. They prove that no matter how chaotic life becomes, you still have the ability to lead yourself with intention. That ability, practiced day after day, translates into a life where you are not just reacting to circumstances, but actively shaping them. When you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, mornings are really about alignment. They connect the smallest details of your daily life with the largest vision of who you want to be. They bridge the gap between intention and action, between desire and discipline. By starting your day right, you practice living your life right. You remind yourself that success, happiness, and fulfillment don't come from one big moment, but from countless small beginnings, repeated every single day. How you start your day truly is how you live your life, and that truth holds the power to transform everything.